Okay, everybody, this is my spoiler review of The Last of Us Episode 7. This was directed by Liza Johnson and written by Neil Druckmann himself. So I just want to say, I absolutely love the directing in this episode. This is the first episode Liza Johnson has done, and it really stood out to me. I thought the cinematography was also way better than previous episodes, but even in a slow paced episode, I was gripped the entire time, and a lot of that to me felt like it was because of the directing and the cinematography, keeping me entranced and keeping things interesting visually as you have a slower story going through the script and dialogue. And what I really like about this episode was I thought this was the first time I really felt like Bella Ramsey was Ellie. I felt like for some reason, I don't know how or why, but she looked the most like Ellie than any episode in this episode. I felt Ellie in her spirit, and I think it's because there was a great blend she was doing of wonderment and joy, and then this tougher side of her, where we've seen so much of the tougher side of her in the timeline with Joel, which I wish we got a little more of that playing around with Joel, with Ellie, which I feel like we just have not even gotten enough with. And I feel like also, just in the main story, we even had like really delved enough into their relationship, Joel and Ellie, and that side of things in general. It just feels weird with the pacing of it. But I feel like we got more development with her relationship with Riley. I'm more almost interested in that relationship. That's how well this was written, this episode, and the chemistry between the two of them. And that's also a props to Storm Reid, who I was so excited to see play Riley, because Storm Reid is amazing in Euphoria. She's so underrated on the show because, again, it's such a talented cast around her. So she might get like blocked out, but she's so good, and she is so good here. And her and Bella just clicked perfectly. It was surreal how good they were on screen. So that's going to bring points up for me too. I love how the mall looked. I love the feeling of watching Ellie discover these things she's never seen before. And I love the whole Mortal Kombat poster setup and then seeing them play the game later on. And Ellie was so excited with that. But I also love in that Mortal Kombat scene, the best shot was pulling away from them and showing that zombie and planting that in your head. That's how you do horror, because now that's in the back of your head. You know that's there. You're trying to enjoy these nice moments these two are having, but there's something looming. So I really like how they did that. And it's also interesting because you get to see what Ellie at this time thought of Fedra, what she thought of the Fireflies, and you see how her and Storm are constantly debating that. So I'm learning things about what Ellie's belief system was. I'm learning things about Ellie's sexuality. I'm learning things about trauma Ellie has been through. And this is where I compare it now to why this made me dislike episode 3 even more, because this shows you, oh, this actually means something to the main character of the show, someone I care about, a character I'll see again. Episode 3, we're never going to see those two characters again, and I wasn't getting that while I was watching it. Things I care about, learning about the characters, that's going to pay off later. Like, this is so important for Ellie this episode, especially for things that happen in the second game and will be in the second season. So that, I feel like, why I'm not feeling like I'm zoning out like I did in episode 3 and kind of looking like, what is the whole point of this? Is this just why I called episode 3 Emmy bait? This is why this doesn't feel like that. And it annoys me that episode 3 even exists, because I feel like it's actually going to hurt just the main image of this episode, because that almost takes away from how powerful a story like this was this episode. So it annoys me that they even did that episode, because it's just like I feel like this, maybe people will be like, oh, another love story again, slowing up the pace. Like, no, they should have just slotted that for here and just didn't do episode 3, do it differently at least. Like, I'm shocked. I'm still trying to figure out why they even did that episode. Anyway, I really like this episode. I thought it was great, and I love they did the masks from the game. I thought that was so cool, and it really did enough to like make so many Easter eggs to the game in that section and feel just like the game a lot, but in a way that was really enhanced and made me really interested in the visual form. And I think that has a lot to do with the directing in particular. And again, just great acting. The carousel scene was done so well, and they all just, the two of them, just their emotions they put towards each other just with the facial acting was great here. So I do think, though, it's interesting, the game actually, the DLC part of the game ends like it does in this episode, that we don't see what happens. You kind of just use your imagination. But remember, the show has told us that Ellie has shot someone before, so I think we can put two and two together that she had to shoot Riley when Riley turned. I don't know how I feel. I'm kind of neutral about, like, maybe it would have been more interesting to see it in the show version, because in the game they end it there, but maybe because it's a different medium, we see it. Maybe it would have hit harder at the end, or maybe it is better to kind of leave things to your imagination, especially because they gave that information earlier in the season about Ellie shooting somebody. So I don't even think I can make a call on that. I like it. I don't love that ending, and I felt that way in the game too. I like it. Don't love it, but I still think it was a solid episode. So I'm giving this one an 8.7. Let me know what you thought of this episode. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I read every comment, try to respond to as many as I can. Please subscribe so you don't miss one of my reviews of The Last of Us, and I'll see you next time.